Hello everybody and welcome to another video where today I want to talk about a new indie game called While We Wait Here. I stumbled upon this game while looking up new short indie games and I was really drawn in by the trailer. I was looking for something story driven with an emphasis on character, feeling and emotional connection, which this game was able to deliver in spades. While We Wait Here is developed by Bad Vices Games and it's available on PC, Switch, PlayStation and Xbox. On the surface, it's a kitchen management game. You may be thinking, how on earth is a cooking game able to provide a thought-provoking and compelling story? And I was thinking exactly the same thing when I read the Steam page. But please believe me when I say that this is so much more than a kitchen management game. It's a deep dive into how we as humans, with our own personal unique struggles, cope with the impending end of the world. I'll say right off the bat that this is by no means a challenging or action-packed game. The pace is intentionally slow and there's no right or wrong decisions, so if that isn't your thing, then I don't think this game is for you. But if you are someone who loves to explore the complexities of human relationships or observe the varying ways in which different personality types respond to problems, then this is something I can strongly recommend. While We Wait Here describes itself as a horror game, but focuses more on psychological horror rather than the typical jump scare and in-your-face experience. It's a game that can touch and connect with you on a very deep level, which is something I love and look out for in a story. Clocking in at only 2 hours, it's a short experience you can easily complete in one sitting and fit into your busy life. I found this short runtime to be perfect. It never overstayed its welcome, and at no point was I hoping for it to be over. You play the role of Cliff, an owner of a diner in the middle of nowhere. You're on the diner with your partner, Nora, and tend to the different customers that come in for a bite to eat or for a drink. The customers vary from frequent visitors to first-timers, each bringing something different and unique to the table, literally and figuratively. These aren't just random NPCs to fill a background, they're extremely important and integral to the overarching narrative, which I'll get into later. While everything may seem positive and peaceful at the beginning, you soon learn of a catastrophic storm that's rolling in, a storm that will end the world as we know it. With it being too dangerous to go outside, you and the customers stay in the diner where you can each bring each other comfort through food, drink, and most importantly, conversation. As I mentioned earlier, this is a kitchen management game, so the core of the gameplay is taking orders, cooking up, and serving food. This ranges from cooking burgers, frying eggs, and making milkshakes. There is a recipe book to help with some orders, but this didn't feel very necessary as it's all quite self-explanatory. If this guy wants a coffee, you grab a cup, pour the coffee in it, and give it to the customer. If this guy wants 2 eggs, you grab some eggs from the fridge, fry them up, and then give them to the customer. I think you get the idea. I mentioned before that this is by no means a difficult game, and I really mean that. I must admit it is quite fun to collect the orders and put everything together, but there's practically zero challenge, not even a timer to put the pressure on. Customers could be waiting hours for their average burger and they wouldn't even care. The game does try to spice things up by introducing different ways of playing, such as using a rifle to shoot targets or smashing up a car with a pole, but these moments never last long and you'll soon be right back in the kitchen cooking fries and pouring whiskey. While serving your guests, you're able to converse with each character and learn about who they are and what they're going through, and that's where this game really shines. During conversations, you'll be given different options on how to respond. There's no right or wrong answer, but whatever you choose will determine the ending, which gives the game some replay value. With the game opting for a first-person experience, it allows for you to look the characters dead in the eye while communicating. I found this really helped with connecting me to the character and focus my attention solely on them. That's all there is to the gameplay, really. It's nothing special and doesn't push boundaries, but it's not supposed to, and it definitely wasn't the developer's aim. The gameplay simply acts as a canvas so that the true heart and soul of the game can be put on center stage. That being the writing. I think I've already made it very clear that While We Wait Here's biggest strength is the story it's trying to tell, and the characters that tell it. From the beginning, with you being in what feels like a calm, cozy diner, I was already intrigued by the game's setting, and I was eager to press on to see where the story goes. From the first few lines of dialogue, I could already tell this was written by talented people who were truly writing from the heart. As mentioned previously, you play the role of Cliff, who owns the diner, and as the story progresses, more and more characters come to the diner for refuge from the raging storm outside. While serving their orders, you start to learn about each character one by one, and this was what I really enjoyed. Their backstories are so interesting, and I was always listening closely to what they had to say. You start learning that each character has a serious problem, whether that be an imminent problem or something that's built up over many years. The game is split into chapters, with each character taking turns to have the spotlight. During these, you shift from playing as Cliff to the person you're speaking to, and you're transported back to where the problem began. A character character that really stood out to me is Hank, an elderly gentleman who's the owner of a local farm. He's a character that may seem happy on the outside, but when you learn more, you find out he had a troubled youth with controlling parents who decided his path for him instead of letting him choose it on his own. He has quite a heartbreaking backstory that offers many lessons to be learned and provides an interesting character study for anyone who may feel their fate isn't in their hands. With there being quite a few people to speak to, I think you're bound to relate to at least one of them, and it's that feeling of connection that reminds me of why video games can be such a powerful medium. Themes such as grief, denial, bad influences, and unfaithfulness are explored in this game, and you're left asking questions about yourself and how you tackle problems. Do you cover them up and hope they go away, or do you tackle them head on? It's all very powerful stuff. While the focus may sometimes be on other characters, the game never loses focus on Cliff, with it dropping both visual and audio hints so we begin putting together the puzzle of who he is and what's happened to him. The game keeps its cards very close to its chest so that it's down to us as players to figure out the mystery of what's going on with him, and I found this to be a very strong driving force to keep me hooked until the credits. I don't want to go into too much detail about the story, and I'm sorry if I already have, but there's a lot of powerful forces on display in this game, and I implore you to experience them on your own. I think the strongest lesson I learned is that we're all sufferers of our own unique problems, which can sometimes be invisible. We can all be having our own unique, tailor-made end-of-the-world experiences, and it's sometimes easy to forget that, so I appreciate the game providing this important reminder. While all these character interactions are playing out, I want to say that I found the voice acting to be fantastic, especially considering this is an indie game. With the writing being as good as it is, the voice acting brings the words to life and adds a whole new layer of emotion and feeling. I particularly enjoyed the voice of Cliff, who was able to deliver lines in a gut-punching way that really heightened the emotion. There is a lot of dialogue in this game and none of it is wasted. Each line is important and contributes so much to the narrative. I also want to mention how impressed I was with the visuals. With its low-res, almost PS2-looking art direction, I was impressed by its simplicity. It once again proves that striving for realism isn't important if you just want to tell a story. I found it all very easy on the eye and beautiful in its own way. I also love the use of colour, with it seemingly changing depending on the mood of the diner. At one point I decided to just stare out the window because of how striking it looked and how cozy it felt. While the world was ending outside, I was safe within the diner. So I think it's about time I wrap this video up, so let me leave you with some final thoughts. How would you respond to the end of the world? What would you think if you look back on your life, and would you do anything differently if you could go back and start again? These questions are asked by this game in varying ways, and for me, I think the whole point of While We Wait Here is for us to just self-reflect. While the gameplay and art style may be minimalist and simple, the game's story and writing is probably one of the most complex and multi-layered I've experienced. It's a game that leaves you wondering well after the credits roll, and it's a game I'm extremely happy to have played. The developers have done such an incredible job with writing characters whose experiences are riddled with life lessons that can have a lasting impact. So while we wait here to self-reflect and figure ourselves out, let's just make sure we all do so well before the end of our own worlds and before it's too late. If you've got to this point of the video, then thank you so much for watching. As you can tell, I really enjoyed this game, and I think you will too if you like your stories deep rather than surface level. As always, leave a comment with your thoughts and don't forget to hit the like button. Please also consider subscribing for more videos like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.